So today we're going to talk about probably the most versatile lift that you guys install, the four-post four-motor lift.
Correct. Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about the overall capacity, things that make this the most versatile lift that you guys install?
Sure. This system was designed probably 2-3 years ago with the mindset of a nice clean look to lift in that in a customer's backyard. So when you're standing looking out at the water, all you really see are those four power heads mounted on top of four pipe driven, 20, 30 feet into the bottomlands. And then based on the capacity, at the low end, it starts at 12,000 pounds. And I believe it goes up to like 40, maybe 45,000 pounds total capacity. Obviously, the structure is different based on the capacity. The cradles get much larger the heavier you go. But the main idea, the main design concept behind that was to allow the homeowner to have access on the side of the boat, the transom of the boat, the bow of the boat. Those systems can be decked with that through flow, which we talked about last week. You can put platforms on the cradles, which gives you tremendous amount of accessibility. Now you can get in the boat, out of the boat, walk around the boat. Gives you, in some instances, for example, like the hoist that's up on the screen right now, that's actually set up for two boats. So the customer has his, I believe it's like a 30, maybe 35 foot center go fast style boat. And then to the outside, you can see the bunks and the guide poles for a small jet boat, which he uses to do, canal cruises and just, when he doesn't want to take the big boat out, he can take the small boat. Those are set at different levels too, so that when you want to use one boat versus the other, the one will float before the other will float. Now, if you want the boat that you use the majority of the time, we set that at the lower level, and the boat that's not used as frequent will be set at a higher level, so that you don't have to worry about it floating around when you're taking one boat off. And being that system is the way it's designed, that four-post setup has a tech remote which runs all four motors independently and in conjunction with each other. So if anything gets out of level, you can shut 3 of the 4 motors off. You want a little more pitch, you can, better drainage for water. You can bring the bow up higher. You can make it completely flat. It really just depends on your personal preference or the hull of your current boat, how it needs to drain. Normally, it's about a 1 to 2 inch difference from the front to rear cradle, but sometimes boats need more. So that system will allow you to shut the back 2 motors off, leave the front 2 motors on, and give you another 2 or 3 inches of vertical pitch to the system. Yeah, so really that is that vertical lift. So with each one of those 4 pipe, so if you wanted a low profile look to it, so depending on where your seawall cap or your dock is, we tried to go maybe 8-10 inches, maybe a foot higher than that. Now, if you wanted, and let's say you're on the lake and you get worried about the storm action and the wave action that happens, those pipe can be extended 4, 5, 6 feet above the dock to give you a greater vertical lift to get your boat secure out, so that you're not worried about wave action during major storms. And Lake St. Clair, the rivers, any of those can really have some bad wave action during a good thunderstorm.
These 4 motors, actually, that's what gives it the versatility that it has. You can make adjustments. You can.
Yep. They all can be run independently, and then there's 4 switches on the outside, and they're labeled based on the location. Normally we do number 1, which is the front right. Number 2 is your front left. Number 3 is your rear right, and then number 4 is your rear left. So if any one of the motors are not perfectly in sync, or you want to change, the boat didn't get perfectly centered on the beam rails and it's got a little list to it, if you wanted, you can adjust the cradle to center or, flatten the boat out, or, you can drop it back down, re-level the boat, pick it back up. But it just gives you versatility to level and change the pitch on that system at any point in time.
So the lift that we were looking at that was fully decked has, 2 bunks next to each. In this example here, you can see the bunks were just added. You can also, in this example too, if you're planning for the future, or you can, the span, how wide of a span can you get with this 4-post 4-motor?
That's actually a great question. So depending on your location, the Eagle Army Corps DEQ will permit you 20% of whatever canal width you have with a permanent structure. So for example, our particular canal system, our canals, I believe it's 120 or 121 feet wide. So by permit, I can extend out with those exterior pipe and those 4 motors to around 20 feet. So depending on the type of boats you have, you could theoretically get 2 boats on that lift, something with an 8 to 10 foot beam, and then something maybe with a little smaller beam, like a little fishing boat or whatever. This particular setup right here is a 20,000 pound max capacity, the way it's configured with these 4 motors. The type of gearboxes and motors that we use give you options, right? So obviously the heavier the lift, we're going to move into that 600-to-1 gear ratio, which normally is about your 20,000 pounds and greater. Below that is your 480-to-1. And the way that manufacturer that provides these gearboxes and motors for us, at that 480-to-1 with a 3/4 horsepower, 1 horsepower, 1 horsepower heavy duty, and I think it's a 1.5 horses, that gives you a range of 3,000 pounds to 7,000 pounds in that 480-to-1 range. And all of that lifting speed is based on a single line pull, and it's about 2.75 feet per minute is what the lift rate is, wrapping on I think it's a 3-inch OD diameter drum. And then when you get to the 600-to-1, it slows down a little bit because obviously you've got much greater capacity. You're lifting heavier things. That runs at about 2 feet per minute. So that gives you kind of an idea. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're designed extremely well. They can lift tremendous amount of weights. And I know it's always a negative because it's not fast enough. Unfortunately, that is the one negative to any boat lift out there, unless you're into some type of hydraulic system, is you've got a tremendous amount of weight that you're lifting, and we can change things, but for the most part, you're going to be in that 2 to 2.5 feet, 2.75 feet per minute max range.
Specific examples too that don't have decking or have limited decking, like if you wanted to, you could put through flow between these boats if you just wanted access between them, or off of your seawall and then maybe in between the boats too, if you wanted to go that route.
Yep. Yeah, we can, in conjunction with a floating system, something permanently mounted, within that 20%, we can do a lot of different options for the homeowner.
To your point too, once you have this structure up and the decking is in this area, right? We're in Algonac, we're in Clay Township on the Bird Isles. You get your kayaks out, your canoes, your paddle boards. You have to store them. You have to keep them dry. This is a perfect situation for that, right?
Yep. We've actually built aluminum racks so that right off of that system there, you could store your kayak with bungee cords so that the winds don't blow them off. Paddle boards, all that kind of stuff can be, added to that at a later date. I've seen customers that have actually taken picnic tables and mounted them on those, and they drop them down. When you got a hot summer day, got a bunch of friends over, the boat's off, they drop that down. Everybody kind of sits in knee deep water and hangs out on the lift. And
we all know how fun it is too to load a kayak into the canal from your seawall.
Right.
It's not fun, right?
No.
it gives you more accessibility.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you could literally sit on that in your kayak, lower yourself into the water, and paddle away.
And now for maximum versatility, just to show an example of a really large job, right? This is actually a four motor, 4-post job with this deck that goes into the water inside of a boathouse, right?
Correct.
This just gives you an idea of how big you can get with this configuration.
Yes. Yeah, I believe, if my memory serves me correct, that system was approximately 50 or 55 feet in total length. And I believe it was about 20 or maybe 22 feet in total width. And that system, actually, there's two main cradles underneath. You can kind of see where the guide poles are. That's your front and rear cradle. There's an actual system off the back that dropped down about 16 inches so that the customer can actually service all of his motors. He can walk around to the backside, do an oil change, change a prop, whatever he so desires on the boat. Can walk 360 degrees all the way around it, wipe it down, wash it, wax it, the whole 9 yards.
And with the posts being very minimal above the ground or water level too, you can conceal them. You can,
Absolutely. Yep. You can turn them into kind of a whatever your theme is for your yard. You can wrap them. We can build, closures around it to minimize if you didn't like to see the white covers and the gearbox itself, but all of that can be hidden, but yet still very accessible to allow us to do our annual services on them.
Got it. And now if this capacity, if you need something beyond 40,000 pounds, you also, this is a rendering, a 3D rendering of which you guys install as well. This is an 8-post 4-motor.
Correct.
3D rendering. So that what does that increase your capacity?
So that from that 40,000 pound mark, now you can get up 50, 60,000 pounds. So, I mean, if you've got something rather large, we can definitely accommodate. A couple of those systems in the covered wells in Macrae. Yeah, it really, the only thing at that point when you get to something like this, it's your physical space in the boat well or what physical space you have to work, because we can really make it as big as needed, width-wise, lengthwise, to accommodate whatever type of boat you have.